At around 4 a.m. on Sunday, March 22, 1998, at the Governours Square apartment complex in Columbus, Ohio, a neighbor is woken by loud banging and the terrifying sound of a woman screaming. This is episode 3, The Disappearance. The neighbor realizes the sound is coming from Stacey Colbert's apartment. What happens next will shock you and infuriate you. The neighbor does nothing. Despite having his ear to the floor to get a closer listen, which is what he eventually tells detectives, he doesn't call the police or go check and see if Stacey is okay during that time. The neighbor does eventually go and knock on Stacey's door to check in, but not until 2 p.m. that afternoon. 10 hours after he initially hears her screams. He notices Stacey's cat sitting outside her door, but of course, there was no answer. This should have been a huge red flag that something was wrong. Stacey loved her cat Boots and would never let him outside because she lived by a busy main road. There was so much speculation surrounding Stacey's neighbor and why he wouldn't contact the police when he initially heard the loud banging and Stacey screaming. Some speculate he feared getting involved, maybe due to his own run-ins with the law. Others speculate that maybe he had something to do with Stacey's disappearance, and that's why he never notified the police. But again, this is all speculation. Unfortunately, that neighbor is now deceased and cannot provide those answers. However, the police did interview him on several occasions, and he was cleared as a potential suspect. This is a large piece of the puzzle in this case, and not only is it an important piece, but it's also one that I really struggle to comprehend. How do you witness something like that and stay stagnant? You know a young woman lives alone in that apartment, and you witnessed what may have been her final screams. The what-ifs continue to haunt me as I know they haunt Stacey's friends and family. What if the neighbor called the police, or even went to check on Stacey right away? Would the outcome have been different? Would she still be here today? Unfortunately, we'll never know the answers to those burning questions. Another day goes by, and it isn't until that Monday, March 23, 1998, that Stacey's sister Danielle calls her at 9 p.m. You see, the Academy Awards were on, and the movie Titanic was nominated for quite a few awards. Titanic was a favorite of Stacey and Danielle's. Danielle took Stacey to see it for her 23rd birthday, so it was special. When Danielle got Stacey's voicemail, she didn't think too much of it. Back in 1998, no one had cell phones like we do now. You called people on landlines and left voicemails to get in touch with them if they didn't answer. Danielle knew Stacey had a work trip that week and assumed she was away and would get back to her when she returned home. Unfortunately, that would never happen. The next day, on Tuesday, March 24th, 1998, Danielle receives a call from AEP stating that Stacey has not been to work Monday or Tuesday. Danielle immediately knew something was very wrong.
On that Tuesday, when I got home from work, is when I got the voicemail from her work. And as soon as I received it, I knew that it was bad. So, because she's not the kind of person who would miss work. I mean, she was probably one of the hardest workers that I've ever met in my life. She had incredible work ethic, and she was very driven. And, she wanted to do things right. She always wanted to do things right. And 10,000% over what anyone would expect her to do. And so, like, she wanted to try to get to work before everybody else did. She's probably one of the last people to leave work and do above and beyond there. So I got that call. I got off of work, I would believe probably around 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Shortly after the call, Danielle notifies her parents of what's going on and tells them that she's going to drive over to Stacey's apartment.
I called my parents and I said, I'm going over to Stacey's apartment. I think something's really, really wrong. And so I went over, like, at that point, I even debated calling the police before I went over there, because I couldn't imagine a world in which she wouldn't go to work. And so I jumped in my car and zoomed down to her apartment, which again was only 2.1 miles door to door. So I got to her apartment and her car was there. Her door was slightly open. And I don't remember when I saw it, but there was a poster of somebody with her cat. Like, it was a missing cat flyer that was out. And I didn't happen to notice it at the time, but it was up at that point. And I went into the apartment. This is a small little apartment too. I go in and, I see her contacts are there. I see her wallet's there. I see, all of her credit cards. Her car is there. Her purse is there. I see things like food and milk out on the counter. I see that the refrigerator door is open. I see cabinets that are open. And, I see blankets, and her room is a little bit messy with clothes and things on the floor strewn about. I knew there was a problem. I called the police and they came over, and this was Tuesday, and I don't believe I left her place until probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The initial street cops came over and did a run through of her house. Even from that first night, I was speaking to the detectives in charge of rape, and I think I talked to even the homicide guys that night and telling, what I knew. I called my uncle, who lived in Muirfield at the time, and he came over and he brought his son. He's a fireman, and after looking at the apartment, they definitely suspected it wasn't just runaway or things like that. They suspected foul play right away.
As Danielle mentioned, police immediately suspected foul play after investigating the condition of Stacey's apartment. So let's review the facts and the evidence presented here. Stacey's car is found in the parking lot of the complex. All of Stacey's personal belongings are still in the apartment, including her purse, wallet, and car keys. Her front door was slightly open, and there was a boot print on the inside of the door. Her refrigerator was open, and the box of half-uneaten breadsticks was on the counter along with a gallon of milk. There was also a strong smell of bleach present in the apartment. All the evidence told a story, a very disturbing story. But Stacey was still nowhere to be found. As the search for Stacey continued, her family, friends, and colleagues went to massive lengths to spread the word and focus on bringing her home, while detectives on her case continued to investigate and track down any leads they came across. AEP was also very active in the search and even put up a $10,000 reward for information leading to the location of Stacey. Little did everyone know, this was only the beginning of what would be a 6-year-long search, and the details of the investigation would leave everyone in a tailspin. In the next episode, we dive into the aftermath of Stacey's disappearance and discover new leads. Episode 4, The Vigil, is available right now. Make sure to follow us on social media at Unseen Truth Podcast and visit unseentruthpodcast.com for more case information.